I have always been fascinated by 19th century stories, drawn to their Victorian atmosphere where the old blends with the new, as if they were a gateway separating two worlds, the Middle Ages on one side and the Industrial Renaissance and Modern Age on the other. Today, dear reader, I will take you back to those enchanting days with a tale where reality merges with mystery and imagination. In truth, it is a riddle that baffled researchers for years, perhaps closest to those intricate puzzles that the smartest investigators of the time, like Sherlock Holmes and his friend Dr. Watson, were keen on unraveling. However, there is one crucial difference. Our story is 100% real, not a product of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's imagination, the creator of the famous detective. "Where did everyone go?" muttered the shoemaker Georg Weichmann as he stared through the window of his small shop at the empty street. Of course, the man hadn't forgotten that May 26, 1828, was an official holiday in the German city of Nuremberg. But the deserted streets and squares, the shops and markets weighed down with locks and chains, filled him with a heavy sense of loneliness and melancholy, intensified by the red hue cast over the city walls by the setting sun. The shoemaker's weary eyes suddenly fell upon a boy walking alone on the road leading from the city gate. He staggered in his movements and steps like a drunkard, then paused briefly to catch his breath. The old shoemaker rushed to him asking, "What's wrong, son? Are you sick?" The boy had childlike features and a vacant gaze. With great difficulty, he moved his lips, straining every muscle in his face as if he were just learning to speak, then stammered, "I want to be a knight like my father." The shoemaker was baffled by this foolish reply. He repeated his question, but the boy seemed to understand nothing beyond that clumsy sentence. The shoemaker's confused gaze fell upon a sealed envelope the boy held in his hand, on which was written, "To the Honorable Captain of the 4th Squadron, 6th Light Cavalry Regiment of Nuremberg." Kind-hearted, the shoemaker closed his shop and took the boy to the city gate to ask the soldiers guarding it about the mentioned captain. He learned that his name was von Wessenig, and the soldiers directed him to his address. The two arrived after nightfall, but unfortunately the captain was not home at the time. The servants, however, said he would return soon and allowed them to wait inside, where a maid served them sausage and drink. To everyone's astonishment, the boy spat out the first bite in disgust, as if he had never tasted or known food like this before. When the captain finally returned home, he was greatly surprised to see this peculiar boy, and denied ever having seen or known him before. He tried in vain to ask the boy his name and the reason for his arrival, but the boy's response was limited to his lone phrase about wanting to be a knight like his father. Eventually the captain opened the envelope the boy carried and found inside 2 letters. Its writer claimed to be a poor day laborer to whom the boy's mother had entrusted him as an infant in 1812. However, due to financial hardship and struggling to feed his own 10 children, he could not provide proper care for the boy and kept him confined indoors his entire life, never letting him leave. The anonymous writer added that he had taught the boy basic reading and writing and saw great potential in him if given the right opportunity. He also claimed the boy would make a loyal servant to His Majesty the King if accepted into the cavalry to become a knight like his father. The last line of the letter was truly shocking. The anonymous writer gave Captain von Wessenig 2 choices, either keep the boy or hang him. The second letter in the envelope was dated 1812, apparently written by the boy's mother. She stated that her child was born on April 13, 1812, and his real name was Kaspar. His deceased father had been a knight in the army, but she could not care for the child due to extreme poverty, so she entrusted him to an acquaintance to raise until he turned 17. At that point, he was to be taken to Nuremberg and handed over to the commander of his father's former squadron to become a knight like him. After reading these letters, everyone exchanged bewildered glances. The mystery had only deepened, offering no new information about the boy beyond his name, Kaspar. The letters contained no other names or addresses. The idea of Kaspar joining the cavalry seemed absurd and laughable given his condition. In the end, the captain and the shoemaker agreed to hand him over to the police for investigation. The police fared no better. Their questions were met with the same vague, foolish replies. However, upon examining the letters, investigators made an important discovery. Both were written in the same handwriting, with the same ink and paper, meaning the same person had penned them, likely at the same time. Since the letter's writer claimed Kaspar could read and write, an officer suggested placing paper and a pen before him. To everyone's shock, Kaspar took the pen and wrote his name clearly, Kaspar Hauser. The police decided to keep Kaspar in one of the city's towers under the care of jailer Andreas Hiltel's family. Despite later rumors, Kaspar had no illnesses. He was friendly and well-liked, short, plump, with a round face and broad shoulders, his skin clear except for an old scar on his right shoulder. His feet were completely flat, as if he had never worn shoes. The jailer and his wife noticed that his facial expressions were almost limited to a smile. His body seemed weak, as if he had never worked or exerted himself. He refused all food except black bread and water, slept only on a straw bed, and had an uncanny ability to see in the dark. He could only distinguish men from women by their clothing. His greatest pleasure was spending time alone in his room, playing with wooden toys. But he was not insane or an idiot. He was a teenager with the mind of a child. Over time, as Kaspar played with the jailer's children, his speech and awareness improved. Gradually, he began speaking about his past, a story so strange it really defied belief. He claimed to have spent his childhood and youth locked in a small, dark room with only a straw bed and a wooden horse as a toy. The windows were always shuttered. Each morning upon waking, he found a loaf of black bread and a small bucket of water beside him. He never saw who left them, and knew no other food. Sometimes the water tasted different, making him drowsy. When he awoke, the room would be clean, his clothes changed, and his nails and hair trimmed. Kaspar said his room was always dark. He had never seen sunlight, so his eyes adapted to seeing in the dark. He spent his time either sleeping or playing with the wooden horse. He could not walk upright, crawling on all fours like an animal. He knew nothing of speech, having never seen another human during his years in confinement. Yet, he always felt someone was watching over him in secret. His isolation ended one day when a mysterious man, careful to hide his face, visited him. This stranger taught him to stand, walk, write his name, and repeat phrases, especially "I want to be a knight like my father," which Kaspar memorized without understanding. Later, the man took Kaspar to Nuremberg, a 3-day journey during which he prevented Kaspar from seeing the route. At the city gate, he handed Kaspar the sealed envelope and told him to find the captain who would make him a knight. Then, he vanished, leaving Kaspar alone, until he stumbled upon the shoemaker's shop. Kaspar's story was hard to believe and offered no useful leads. Authorities placed him under the care of Friedrich Daumer, a teacher and philosopher who took great interest in him. Under Daumer's care, Kaspar's speech, writing, and comprehension developed rapidly. He learned to distinguish objects, ate varied foods, having previously consumed only bread and water, and developed a passion for horseback riding. He also proved to be a talented artist. Gradually, Kaspar wrote about his past, and his story gained widespread attention across Europe. Daumer, seeing research potential, subjected him to psychological study, noting his extraordinary abilities. His senses of smell and hearing were sharper than normal, and he could distinguish metals and see in dim light. On October 17, 1829, while alone at Daumer's home, Kaspar was attacked by a masked intruder who slashed his forehead with a knife. Kaspar later told police the assailant had threatened, "You must die before leaving Nuremberg." He recognized the voice. It was the same man who had brought him to the city. Some suspected Kaspar staged the attack to regain fading public interest or Daumer's wavering support. Indeed, the press reignited coverage of his case, and theories emerged linking him to the noble house of Baden. Official records stated that the Duke of Baden's only son and heir had died in infancy in 1812, the same year Kaspar was supposedly born. Some believed the child had been swapped with a dead peasant's baby, and the real heir, Kaspar, was hidden away by a scheming uncle to usurp the throne. Kaspar moved between homes for protection. He lived briefly with the wealthy Herr Bieberbach, but conflicts with Frau Bieberbach, who called him a liar, led him to Baron von Tucher. In 1830, an English nobleman, Lord Stanhope, took excessive interest in Kaspar, spending lavishly to become his guardian. He vowed to uncover Kaspar's origins, but gradually lost enthusiasm. By 1831, he sent Kaspar to Ansbach under the care of a strict teacher, Georg Meyer. Stanhope promised to return and adopt him, but Kaspar never saw him again. Kaspar and Meyer clashed from the start. Meyer, known for his harshness, constantly berated Kaspar, calling him a liar and a failure. By late 1833, their relationship was unbearable. On December 14, 1833, Kaspar returned home bleeding profusely from a stab wound to his left chest. He told police a stranger had lured him to a park, claiming to have information about his mother. As they walked through thick snow, the man suddenly offered a leather wallet, then stabbed Kaspar and fled. The next day, police found the wallet containing a mirror-written note. "Kaspar will tell you how I look and where I'm from, but I'll spare him the trouble. I came from the Bavarian border, across the river. My name is MLO." The cryptic message only deepened the mystery. Kaspar, dying, described his attacker as tall, bearded, and wearing a black coat, details matching thousands of men. On December 17, 1833, Kaspar Hauser died at age 21. His last words, "I'm tired, so tired, and yet I still have a long journey ahead." For decades, Kaspar's case haunted researchers. Was he a cunning fraud or an innocent victim? Skeptics found his story implausible. How could a child survive years in darkness on only bread and water? Many who knew him said he craved attention, suggesting he wrote the letters, staged the attacks, and even fatally stabbed himself due to despair over Meyer's abuse and Stanhope's abandonment. Supporters argued his abilities, enhanced senses, night vision, were real. Some believed he was the lost heir of Baden, though DNA tests in 1996 and 2002 were inconclusive. Ultimately, the truth remains lost to history. Like the mysteries of Louis XVII, Anastasia Romanov, Hitler's suicide, JFK's assassination, and Jack the Ripper, Kaspar Hauser's tale endures, a blend of fact and legend, proving reality can be stranger than fiction.